أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وجعلناهم أئمة يهدون بأمرنا وأوحينا إليهم فعل الخيرات وإقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة وكانوا لنا عابدين. Any insight in the Islamic history, you find that the Imams of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, plus their followers, always stressed on this important point. And that is, the Imams of Ahlul Bayt have claimed, as well as their followers, that they are the most knowledgeable people after the Prophet, peace be upon him, throughout the history. Not only in the history of Islam, rather from the very beginning of the human history. When God has sent Adam until the Prophet, peace be upon him, the Imams of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam have declared this, that first of all, we are the infallibles. An infallible meaning someone who does not make a mistake, sin, nor forgetfulness. And they are the most knowledgeable people after the Prophet, peace be upon him. Now, when you examine history, you come to see that for their claim, there are three evidence. Their claim is supported by three facts. The first fact, it is the reaction of the governments. We know that the Imams of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam were always, throughout their history, for 235 years, after the martyrdom of Imam Ali alayhi salam, until the occultation of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam. In these 200 some years, they were always on the opposition side to the government. All the governments, whether they belong to Bani Umayyah or Bani al-Abbas, used to persecute them, torture them, and assassinate them. So, for a government, and the reason that they used to do this, because they feared the Imams. They know that those consist of very potent political trend that can overthrow their governments. Therefore, they were always kept them in check, persecuting them, persecuting their followers, and killing them. So, when someone comes to have such a broad claim that I am the infallible, I never make a mistake, and I am the most knowledgeable person, this should give the governments the golden opportunity to discredit them. Anyone who has such a broad claim would make it easy for the foes, for the enemies, to discredit him. They would pose very difficult and challenging questions to them. Once they cannot answer those questions, then their bogus claim will be apparent to everyone. Therefore, the government will win in such way. But when you examine history and you look through the evidences, you see that the governments did not do this. Rather, they chose the very hard and difficult way. And that is by physically eliminating them, killing them, not going to challenge them, or if they did, it were only in couple incidents that I will talk about it inshallah. But the first evidence is the fact that the government has accepted this fact. Never put them in a situation to confront the imams. Rather, they resorted to physical elimination and assassination. This is the first evidence. The second evidence that supports the claim of the imams alayhim salam is that when you check any scholar, go read the biography of any scholar, any scientist, any knowledgeable person, any personality in history, you will see beside the things that he has accomplished, for example, how many books he has written, how many students he had, how many theories he brought. Beside all of those informations, you see one integral piece of information that is associated with every single scholar, and that is the names of his teachers, those who have taught him the knowledge. For example, if you think of Aristotle, the biggest philosopher in history, you will see someone behind him. His name was Plato. Plato taught Aristotle philosophy. Who taught Plato? Socrates taught Plato, and so forth. Any prominent scholar throughout history, you cannot find without mentioning the name of his teachers, except one group of people, and those were the imams of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Check their history. Go Google search. Check any book you want. People presume that their teachers, the teacher, for example, of Al-Imam al-Sadiq, is his father, Al-Imam Muhammad al-Baqir. But in reality, no one has seen that Al-Imam Muhammad al-Baqir brings his son, Ja'far al-Sadiq, in front of him and teaches him. They just presume that. But other than their fathers, you cannot find anyone else who claims that I was the teacher of this imam. None. Zero. That's the second piece of information, piece of evidence that helps the claim of the imams. By the way, when the imams claim that they are the most knowledgeable people, not only in Islamic jurisprudence or Islamic philosophy and literature, no. At any rate, choose any field, the imam tells you, I am the best. Ask me and I will answer you. As did the Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. He would say, Saluni qabla an tafquduni. Ask me. Ask me about anything in your mind. You want to ask me about the future? Ask me. You want to ask me about heaven? Ask me. You want to ask me about natural science? Ask me. Just ask me. There is a beautiful story. They say that 3 people came to Ali ibn Abi Talib. They were awarded 17 camels. So they came to Imam and told him that we have a problem, little problem. And the problem is this, that those who have awarded us those camels, and those are 17, they said that one of us will get 1/2. The second will get 1/3, and the last one will get 1/9. Now 17 is a prime number. You cannot divide 17 into an integer. If you divide it, meaning that you have to grab a camel and kill the camel. They don't want this. So they came to the Imam to solve the problem for them. They told him, can you help us? The Imam alayhi salam had a camel himself. He said, okay, I will borrow you this camel. Now how many they became? They became 18. They were 17 with the camel of the Imam. They became 18. The Imam told the first guy who has supposed to take half of the camels. Okay, take the half. How many? Half of 18 is what? 9. He took 9 and left. He went to the second guy, told him, you want to take 1/3? What is 1/3 of 18? 6. He said, you take 6. 6 and 9 is how many? 15, right? Are you with me? How is your math? Some of you are, their math is really not so good. Anyway, so 9 and 6, those are 15. He looked at the last one, who's supposed to get 1/9. What is 1/9 of 18? 2. So 6 and 9, those are 15. 2, 17. Imam took his camel and left. They all took their camels and went. He solved this problem in less than a minute. So when they would declare that they are the most knowledgeable people in all fields, not only in Islamic jurisprudence. So those are the two pieces of evidence. The third one, you see, brothers and sisters, any scholar, any knowledgeable, take anyone who wins the Nobel Prize. You see that the knowledge that he acquired did not come to him instantaneously. Rather, through hardships and difficulty, through hard works. Meaning that he had to spend years of his lives until he get to the point that people would consider him to be a scholar. Meaning that age matters. You would not expect a 7 years old or 8 years old boy to calculate, to sit down and solve a nuclear physics equation. Why? Because this 7 or 8 years old boy did not go to school to spend enough time in order to be able to answer this question. So time and age matters. But time and age for the imams were irrelevant. You would ask a boy who happens to be an imam, or you would ask the adult. Both will give you the perfect answer. I will give you an example. Imam Muhammad al-Jawad was 8 years old. After the martyrdom of his father, Al-Imam al-Rida alayhi salam, he moved from Medina to Khurasan. When he was there, of course, people would recognize that this is the real Imam. Why? Because they know from the way that he deals with people, his attitude, his talks, his demeanor is telling very much indicative that he was a ma'soom. He was an infallible. Yet, the government wanted to challenge this Imam. So, they went to the Ma'mun, who was the Khalifa, and asked the people around Ma'mun, told him, challenge this boy. This is an 8 years old. Why you respect him? Ma'mun has given him his daughter. So they came and told him, what an 8 years old boy can understand from life that you give him so much respect? The Ma'mun told them, test him. Check on him. See how he can answer. So they went and found the best guy who has the most sophisticated knowledge, who happens to be the supreme judge, Yahya ibn Aktham. Yahya ibn Aktham brought a few questions. So he came in front of Ma'mun and the rest of people to challenge the Imam, to discredit the Imam. So he asked him this. He sat down and told him, أصلحك الله يا أبا جعفر ما تقول في محرم قتل صيدا. You see, brothers and sisters, when you go to Hajj, and inshallah all of you will go to Hajj, in the state of ihram, when you wear your ihram and become muhrim, there are 24, 25 things that become forbidden on you. One of them is hunting. You're not supposed to hunt or kill an animal. So this man came to the Imam and told him, Ya ibn Rasulullah, tell me, if a muhrim, someone in the state of ihram, has killed a hunt, what he should do? The Imam posed 36 questions to him. He told him, قتله عمدا أم خطأ كان حرا أم عبدا صغيرا كان أم كبيرا مبتدئا بالقتل أم معيدا من ذات الطيور كان أم من غيرها, and kept asking 36 questions. Told him, when he did this one, did he do it on purpose or by an accident? When he did this one, was he a slave or he was a free man? The hunt was a small hunt or a big hunt? Was it a bird or from sea or from land? Which one? Posed 36 questions, an 8 years old boy. The man was puzzled. He could not answer. So that's why we say that age does not matter for the Imams alayhim salam. At any time you ask them, whether he's 3 years old, 7 years old, or 65 years old, you see that the way they answer the questions is perfect, cannot miss a point. So brothers and sisters, all of those were an introduction for our theme. Our topic today is the extent and quality and quantity and quality of the knowledge of the Imams. The Imams have claimed that they are the most knowledgeable people after the Prophet, including the other prophets, meaning that they are more knowledgeable than all the prophets except Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. Today, my point would lie in two things. First, according to Quranic principles, we will prove that our Imams are the most knowledgeable people after the Prophet. And they are more knowledgeable than Ibrahim al-Khalil, than Isa, than Moses. This is one point. And secondly, inshallah, we will have time, I will talk about the rationality of this. How they become most knowledgeable. Is it possible that someone becomes such full of knowledge? How is it possible? I will do that after your big and loud salawat. Before I will go to the topic, you may ask, does it really worth to study this? So what? So what if I know that Ali ibn Abi Talib is the most knowledgeable person after the Prophet or not? Is it a big deal? Isn't this an exaggeration? People accuse the followers of Ahlul Bayt of being, going to the extremes. They exaggerate in their love, in their affection, in their following of Ahlul Bayt. They consider us as mushrik, as we have talked about it yesterday. They consider us as infidels. Why? They say you are too much, to the point of extreme. Does it really matter that I come and waste your time for 1 hour to discuss about some historical personalities 1,400 years ago who have passed away, to prove that they were most knowledgeable people after the Prophet? So what? Whether they were or not, does it really matter to me and to you? This is the point, brothers and sisters. I will give you the answer by this example. Imagine one of you, God forbid, inshallah, no one would need this one, but let's say that you were inflicted with a disease. You went to the doctor tells you that you need to have a transplant, either to the heart or to the liver. They tell you need to have a heart transplant. You know the success rate of a heart transplant operation? It is between 45 to 55%, meaning 50-50. When they do the heart transplant, they grab a diseased body, a dead body. They cut through his body, they take the heart, they put it in ice, they send it by helicopter to the, to the medical center, bring that patient right away. Within 2 hours, they have to do the operation. But is that over? No. It's still the body has to accept the heart. Sometimes it rejects it. And if it rejected, you become history. You're gone. So it is 50-50%. Let's assume that one person has been inflicted with such kind of thing. Now, when you want to go and do the operation, would you choose any surgeon? Would you choose an ordinary surgeon? Let's say your insurance tells you you can choose the best doctor. Wouldn't you go and find the best doctor? The one who has done thousands and thousands of heart transplant surgeries? Or you find someone who has just graduated from medical school and tell him, okay, since you're a surgeon, then I'm willing to give up. Would you do this? Or would you choose the best? Why would you choose the best? Because it is 50-50. Meaning that if he makes a single mistake, then you are history. You're gone. Completely you're gone. Therefore, you always choose the best. The same thing, brothers and sisters. When we talk about the knowledge of the Imams, it's not because they're living 1400 years ago. Because I am obligated to follow. I have to follow my faith and my religion based on what I follow. Any scholar who declares that I am mujtahid and he writes a few books and then we go and follow him? Because in the hereafter it is 50-50. Either it's a hellfire or heaven. There is no other way. And there is only one way that leads you to heaven. There is no other way. In the salat, in the prayers, we say 10 times, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. Right? What does اهدنا الصراط المستقيم means? Means there is only one path. Cannot be two, cannot be three. There is only one reality. There is only one certainty. There is only one fact. If you miss the fact, then you are history. That's why we stress on the knowledge of the Imam. When you know that he's the most knowledgeable person, then you follow him with confidence. Then you know there is no problem. Then you follow him with peace of mind. You don't have difficulty. That's why we say the Imams are the most knowledgeable people. Sallu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. We said this claim, we will pose it to Quran, to Quranic principles. See that if Quranic principles accept our claim that our Imams have the most knowledge and they are the most knowledgeable people after the Prophet, then we accept it. Otherwise, we reject it. I will try to prove it through 5 Quranic principles. The first principles, brothers and sisters, I have to speak very fast because I have plenty of materials to finish within 50 minutes. So, the first principle, God talks to Abraham. He said that God has challenged Abraham with difficult tests, 3 different tests. Eventually, Abraham has accomplished all of them. I have talked about this in previous nights. God says, وَإِذِ ابْتَلَىٰ إِبْرَاهِيمَ رَبُّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ قَالَ إِنِّي جَاعِلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا. God has challenged, has tested Abraham. Abraham, number 1, was a servant of God. Then he became what? Became a prophet. Then he became a messenger. You know the difference between a prophet and messenger. Prophet, meaning that someone who receives revelations from God. But he doesn't have to give this revelation to the people. The messenger is someone who has to deliver, to give the message to the people. So the messenger has a higher position than the prophet. So number 1, Abraham was servant of God. Then he became a prophet. Then he became a messenger. Then he became Khalilur Rahman, a friend of God. And eventually Quran attests to this last position. Says, قَالَ إِنِّي جَاعِلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا. You will become an imam. An imam. So based on Quranic principles, there are 3 hierarchical positions. Prophethood, then next comes the messengership, and above all comes the position of imam for Ibrahim al-Khalil. So far so good? This is according to Quranic principle. Meaning that imam has higher position than the messengership, which has higher position than the prophethood. Ibrahim al-Khalil, after a lengthy test, have reached this point. He became the imam. That's the first principle. The second principle, we have 124,000 prophets. Among them, there are many messengers. Now, all of those are equal? All of those are in the same level? No. God has given them a preference. God has said in the Holy Quran, it says that تِلْكَ الرُّسُلُ فَضَّلْنَا بَعْضَهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. Those messengers, God has given a preference. Some of them are high, some of them are lower. Among the highs are the 5 messengers. Who are those? Nuh alayhi salam, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. Sallu alayhi ba'ala aswatikum. Those are the best of all prophets. So far so good? You're with me? 2 principles. Number 1 is the hierarchical positions of the divine orders. First a prophet, then messenger, then comes the imam. That has applied to Ibrahim. Second, all messengers are not equal. There are some who are preferred, more preferred than others. And the ultimate ones are those 5. Those 5 by Quranic definition have reached the level of imam, the leadership, by Quranic definition. One of them is Ibrahim. God has said, if you remember the ayah that I recited at the beginning, it says, وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا. We have made them leaders who should be guiding the people by our own orders and commands. So those prophets, those 5 prophets, are also considered to be imams. The third rule, the third principle, every single messenger should have a successor. Every single messenger should have a hire. A hire who what? Who will succeed him and inherit from him his qualities. Meaning his knowledge, his infallibility, and the moral qualities. You tell me where? Quran says. Quran, when he sent the message, he considered that message as kitab, as a book. Sometimes in the form of book, holy book like Quran, sometimes in form of, dispersed messages to the people. God has said about those people who are messengers, after them successors will come. Quran has said, ثُمَّ أَوْرَثْنَا الْكِتَابَ الَّذِينَ اصْطَفَيْنَا مِنْ عِبَادِنَا. Meaning that after the prophets, the messengers demise, they leave, they have to succeed. Other people have to come and succeed them. The successor will come and succeed them. What is the role of the successor? The successor, his role will guide the people after the messenger. Yet he will acquire the knowledge, the spiritual quality from that messenger. We have some examples. Yusha ibn Nun was the successor of Moses. I don't know what's Yusha in Joshua. Joshua was a successor of Musa, of Moses alayhi salam. In Arabic, Solomon had a successor. His name is not written in Quran, but God alludes to him. His name is Asif ibn Barkhia. Sayyidina, what is the name of Asif ibn Barkhia in Arabic? Okay, he's not good in Hebrew. Anyway, this guy was the successor of Solomon, of Prophet Sulaiman. God alludes to him in the, remember in the story that I told you when Queen Bilqis was coming from Yemen all the way to Palestine, he asked his entourage to bring his throne. One of them stood up. God tells this, says, وَقَالَ الَّذِي عِنْدَهُ عِلْمٌ مِّنَ الْكِتَابِ. Please, brothers and sisters, keep these words very good in your mind, because we will come back to this. وَقَالَ الَّذِي عِنْدَهُ عِلْمٌ مِّنَ الْكِتَابِ. That guy, Asif, who was the successor of Sulaiman, had some knowledge of the book. What is the book? The book is beyond the scope of this lecture. It requires another lecture. But keep in mind, this book is like the instruction manual of the entire universe. Asif had some knowledge of this book. God alludes to it. He said because he had some knowledge of the book, what did he do? He brought the throne of Bilqis in a blink of second, from Yemen all the way to Palestine. قال أنا آتيك به قبل أن يرتد إليك طرفك. Now, Sulaiman couldn't do it himself? Yes, Sulaiman could have done. But why? This question was asked from the Imam. The Imam said because God wanted to signify Asif, the successor of Sulaiman. So people can realize the importance of Asif. After Sulaiman, they go to Asif. Therefore, God made Asif to do this so people can see by their eyes. So, any prophet has a successor. The prophet before his death, before his demise, transfer all his knowledge and spiritual capability to the successor. He will transfer it to that person. That person will inherit his entire knowledge. This is a third principle. Are you with me so far? Those have been 3 principles. The fourth principle, brothers and sisters, it is theoretically possible that a successor of one prophet will have more knowledge than another prophet. You tell me why? Didn't we say based on second principle that the prophets and messengers are not the same? So one messenger who has higher quality, who has more knowledge than other messengers, when he transfer his knowledge to his successor will have more knowledge than other messengers. Simple. So if we assume a prophet X has more knowledge than a prophet Y, then the successor of a prophet X should have more knowledge than a prophet Y. Even if that successor is not a prophet. Even if that successor himself is not a messenger and not a prophet. You tell me where is the proof? The proof is Quran. Quran is telling us the proof. Where is this a proof? It is the story of Moses. Moses, one day he went into trip. God has told him, you will find some guy who has more knowledge than you. The Quran says this, فَارْتَدَّا عَلَىٰ آثَارِهِمَا قَصَصًا فَوَجَدَا عَبْدًا مِّنْ عِبَادِنَا آتيناه رحمة من عندنا وعلمناه من لدنا علما. We have taught this guy from our own knowledge. The literature, the narration, say that this guy's name is Al-Khidr. Al-Khidr was not a prophet. Now what did Musa say? Musa went humbly, stood in front of him and begged him. What did he tell him? Musa is what? One of the 5 greater prophets. We said that there is no prophets greater than those 5s. You're with me so far? What did Musa say? قال له موسى هل أتبعك على أن تعلمني مما علمت رشدا? Would I be able just to follow you so you will teach me some, not all, some of your knowledge? قال إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا. You cannot. The knowledge that I have, no one can handle. You, the prophet of God, cannot handle. So the question, did Musa know the knowledge of Khidr or not? If we say that he know, why would he ask? If he doesn't know, then it means that guy, Al-Khidr, and God does not mention the name of Khidr. He only brings the quality of Khidr. Say that this guy we have taught him. He gives the description, he doesn't give the name. Those people who always object and say, why the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib did not show in Quran? If he were so qualified, if he knows everything. No, the description comes of Ali ibn Abi Talib, not the name. The same as this guy. His description has come. So based on this principle, the 4th principle, a non-prophet is in fact more knowledgeable of a prophet. Not only an ordinary prophet, a messenger of God, and one of the 5 greatest messengers. And that is Musa alayhi salam. So those are 4 principles. The last principle, 5th principle, is Islam. When we say Islam, it is the most comprehensive religion, who have come to conclude all the rest of the religions. إِنَّ الدِّينَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ الْإِسْلَامِ. If you want to worship God, it has to go through what? Through Islam. There is no other religion. Why? Because Islam is considered to be the most comprehensive religion. وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِ غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ. Whoever chooses a religion other than Islam, Allah will not accept. Therefore, Islam is the most comprehensive religion. When we say the most comprehensive religion, meaning it is the most complete. Meaning that other religions, they had some information, yet they missed many informations. Who brought the rest of the information? Islam. And who's the prophet of Islam? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Quran has more knowledge than the Bible, more knowledge than Torah, more knowledge than any other book. Here's the Quran. It says that وَأَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ الْكِتَابِ. We have given you the book. بِالْحَقِّ مُصَدِّقًا لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ. Number 1 is to come as a proof for the previous religions. من بين يديه من الكتاب ومهيمنا عليه. It is dominant. Dominant in what? In knowledge. Meaning that the knowledge that is written in the holy book of Quran far exceeds any other book of God. And God has revealed it to whom? To the prophet. The prophet has to know all the knowledge. Otherwise, why would God send him some information that is puzzle to him? He is the one who should know all the knowledge. Therefore, according to all Muslim scholars, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi is the most knowledgeable messenger of God. There is unanimous. No one would tell you, no, Musa, for example, or Isa has more knowledge than the prophet. Why? Based on this necessity, that is, Islam is the most comprehensive religion that has come and gave the entire knowledge. And Rasulullah has taken this knowledge. According to 3rd principle, we said that the prophet and the messenger, it transfer his knowledge to whom? To his successor. Therefore, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi has transferred all his knowledge to whom? To his successors. They say on the last day of the life of the Prophet, peace be upon him, Ali ibn Abi Talib was with him. The Prophet, peace be upon him, whispered in his ears. After the demise of the Prophet, they came to Ali, told him, Ya Ali, what did the Prophet say to you? He said, علمني رسول الله ألف باب من العلم يفتح لي من كل باب ألف باب. The Prophet has taught me 1,000 doors of knowledge, that from every single door you will open 1,000 doors. Meaning that the Prophet, within couple minutes, and now we will discuss the rationality of this, taught Ali ibn Abi Talib 1,000,000 different kinds of knowledge. 1,000,000 different kinds. Now, is there something that is written in Quran that support this idea? Yes. Remember Asif ibn Barkhia, the successor of Solomon? We said that he did this miracle because he had some knowledge of the book. Listen what God says to the Prophet. The pagans of Mecca came to challenge the Prophet. Tell him, where did you get these sources? You have to have a witness to approve that whichever you're saying is true in the Holy Quran. God tells the Prophet, tells him, go back and tell them, قُلْ كَفَى بِاللَّهِ شَهِيدًا بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَكُمْ وَمَنْ عِنْدَهُ عِلْمُ الْكِتَابِ. God is my witness, and the second witness is the one who carries the full knowledge of the book. Which book? The same book that Asif ibn Barkhia had. Asif had little tiny piece of that knowledge, and he did what he did. God is saying that this second witness has the full knowledge of the book. The historians, the narrators say that that guy is Ali ibn Abi Talib. Sunnis say before the Shia. Therefore, brothers and sisters, based on those 5 principles, our Imams, and here I would say this hadith from Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ خَلَقَ أُولُو الْعَزْمِ مِنَ الرُّسُلِ. He has created, God has created ulul azm, those 5 important messengers. وَفَضَّلَهُمْ بِالْعِلْمِ. He made them the most knowledgeable people. وَأَوْرَثَنَا عِلْمَهُمْ وَفَضَّلَنَا عَلَيْهِمْ. He has given all their knowledge to us and made us better than them. Therefore, when you stand up in front of Hussein and do the salutations, what do you say? You say, Assalamu alayka ya waritha Adam safwatillah. Assalamu alayka ya waritha Nuh nabiyillah. Assalamu alayka ya waritha Ibrahim Khalilullah. Meaning you have inherited Ibrahim, you have inherited Moses, you have inherited Jesus. What did he inherit? Their belongings, their personal items, or their knowledge, their quality. Therefore, our Imams, brothers and sisters, are considered to be more knowledgeable than anyone else except Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. Sallu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. How did they get this? Is there a rationality to this one? That within couple seconds, maybe couple minutes, the Prophet teaches Ali ibn Abi Talib 1,000,000 piece of information? What kind of computer is this? Is this possible? You see, brothers and sisters, the scholars divide procurement of knowledge, acquiring knowledge, into 2 methods. They tell you there are 2 kinds of methods that you acquire knowledge. The first one is the conventional way that we talked about it. Through time. You learn. You go to school, you go to university, you spend 4 years of your valuable time studying, and then you come up with a degree. Based on that degree, you carry certain knowledge. But that knowledge that you acquired, which is over the 4 years of experience, all goes to the brain, to the logic, right here. Your mind acquires this knowledge. It is right here. Sometimes, God forbid, someone, get encountered with some kind of accident, and then he will have memory loss, he will forget everything. Why? Because those informations, nowadays, science say that you keep it in the brain, in those receptors in the cells of the brain. This knowledge, we call it a cumulative knowledge, meaning by time you acquire this knowledge. There is a second kind of knowledge that it is instantaneous, right away. What is that knowledge? We call this knowledge comes by feeling, by senses. It is sensual, meaning that you acquire this knowledge by senses. I will give you an example. When your stomach hurts, does it take too much time to figure out? Once your stomach hurts, it's an organ inside your body. The neurons send a message to the brain that there is something wrong in your stomach. Right away, you feel the pain. This kind of knowledge is called a feeling. You feel it. You feel this knowledge. The pain in your stomach will be felt in your entire existence. You cannot rest. You start moving. Why? Because you feel it everywhere. You feel it from your head all the way to your toes. This kind of knowledge is a feeling. By senses you have acquired this one. You go to the doctor. You tell him, doctor, I have a pain in my stomach. He tells you how severe. You tell him very severe. He knows about your point. He knows about your pain. But he has exactly same understanding that you have? No. Why? Because his knowledge is there in the brain. Has not come to his heart. Has not come to his existence. He's not feeling your pain. It is you who are feeling the pain. You're the one who feels the pain. Therefore, the extent of knowledge is only you. You will figure it out. The doctor cannot. He will tell you, he will put you, give you 10 figures and tell you based on that, say, from 1 to 10. Tell me which one. You tell him, okay, 8. Say, okay. But still, he's not feeling your pain. Why? Because his knowledge comes and get to the brain and stay there, does not move. While your knowledge about the pain is right in your heart, in your body, in your stomach, everywhere. You feel it. You see? How many times when you leave the lecture of the class, you forget the material? I would say 90% of the time. When we go to class, afterward, when we leave, we forget the class. But have you ever had one time in your history that you forgot that you were hungry one day? Say, I forgot that I'm hungry today. Why? What is the difference? The difference is that you are feeling this one. Your entire existence feels about hunger. I will give you a third example. How many people have seen dead bodies? Do you ever think that the one that is dead will get up in front of your face? Rationally, not. Once someone dies, khalas, dies. You're not going to see him. He's completely gone. Do you doubt this? No one doubts this. When someone is pronounced dead by the doctor, he's dead. He cannot get up. Khalas, he's done. Let's say someone, or tomorrow, they bring a coffin here. They say that someone has deceased. Someone that you know, you've seen a couple days ago, you talked to, and for a certain reason, he or she collapsed and died. They tell you, we would like a favor from you. Here is a Quran. When everybody leaves, no one is here, we dim the lights, all the doors are closed, you sit with this coffin and recite Quran only for 3-4 hours until dawn. How many of you are willing to do this? Are you going to do this one? You sit in front of the coffin and no one in the Islamic Center. All are gone and the lights are dim. You think it's easy? I will give you $2,000 if you do this. You think it's easy to stand, to sit with a dead body and recite Quran? I give myself $4,000 if I do this. Why? Because we know that the dead is dead, but only by brain, not by heart. We have not reached that point. Whenever we reach the point that this guy is never gonna wake up, no matter what, I go to the cemetery and I sleep in the cemetery. Why? Because I know those dead will never resurrect, never come up. This means that I have reached certainty. At any point that I reach certainty, it means that I had my complete knowledge, my full knowledge. What God calls this stage of certainty? Call it ilmul yaqeen. you have reached the level of certainty. God alludes to this fact. Says, كَلَّا لَوْ تَعْلَمُونَ عِلْمَ الْيَقِينِ لَتَرَوُنَّ الْجَحِيمِ. Meaning, if you reach certainty, your knowledge becomes certain, then you will see the hellfire. Here, in this life. In this life, you will see the hellfire. Not in the hereafter. The hereafter, everyone will see hellfire. Even the mushrikeen will see the hellfire. But here, Quran says that if you reach the point of certainty, then you have reached the ultimate level of knowledge. You will see the hellfires by your eyes. Certainty equal full knowledge. Certainty equals infallibility. Therefore, the Imams have acquired their knowledge in this way. They have reached the level of certainty, yaqeen. God talks about Ibrahim. What does he say? Says, وَكَذَلِكَ نُرِي إِبْرَاهِيمَ مَلَكُوتَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَلِيَكُونَ مِنَ الْمُوقِنِينَ. We have taught, we have shown Abraham have seen the universe in its reality, behind this apparent forefront things. The spirit of this universe, he have seen it. The heavens and earth. Why? Because he has reached this level, the level of certainty. When it comes to the Imams, it says this, وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا. Those have become Imams to teach, to guide people based on our orders. Why? For two criteria. لَمَّا صَبَرُوا. Number one, they got forbearance and patience. And second, وَكَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا يُوقِنُونَ. When they reach the level of certainty. By the time you reach the level of certainty, the knowledge spontaneously comes to you. The question, is this an exclusive club only for the Imams? Or it's also, someone can also acquire this one? No, it's an open field, open door. Whoever reaches this equality, whoever stops from sinning, will reach the level of certainty, the level of yaqeen. Here is the last narration that I will recite to you. This is from the Prophet, peace be upon him. One day, the Prophet, peace be upon him, after Salatul Fajr, after morning prayers, after each prayer, the Prophet would deliver a message, deliver a speech. One day, after morning prayer, he turned and saw a young man. That man, as he looked at him, saw this guy cannot control himself. As he's sitting, he's sleeping, falling asleep, very pale, very thin, and very weak. He asked him, كيف أصبحت يا شاب? How is your feeling? How did you feel? The answer, he did not say Alhamdulillah. He said, أصبحت يا رسول الله موقنا. I have reached the level of certainty. The Prophet told him, what is your evidence? You're declaring something big. You're saying that I am certain. I have reached certainty. Where is the proof? How is your proof? Tell me something more. What did he say? He said, Ya Rasulullah, inna yaqini ashara layli. My certainty has made me that I cannot sleep at night. I'm always awake. Well, many of the youth, they also don't sleep at night, but not through prayers. They sit on the iPad and iPhone and iPod and Facebook and the rest of those. That will not get you to certainty, brothers and sisters. That will get you to hell, wal-'iyadhu billah. Be careful. There is a big difference between prayers, supplications, and killing your time on the Facebook. Inshallah, tomorrow and after tomorrow, we'll talk about this bad habit. So, the first criteria, he said that inna yaqini ashara layli wa armada hawajiri. What is armada hawajiri? You see, in Arabian Peninsula, it's very hot environment. Now, in the middle of the day, it's called hajara, meaning that in the middle of the day at noon, I have to go outside. I am been driven by myself to go outside and sleep on the sun. On the sun. Where? On the sand. You see how hot is the sand? He said, Armada hawajri. I go put myself, wipe myself on the ground to be, sweltered by the heat. This is what my certainty is done. Then he says, وَقَدْ عَزَفَتْ نَفْسِي عَنِ الدُّنْيَا وَشَهَوَاتِهَا. I have turned away from this life. No desire is appealing to me. I don't have any desire. وَكَأَنِّي, here's the point, brothers and sisters. وَكَأَنِّي أَنظُرُ إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ. By my eyes, I can see the heavens. وَأَهْلِهَا يَتَنَعَّمُونَ. I see how they are happy. وَأَنظُرُ إِلَى النَّارِ. And by my eyes, I can see the hellfire. وَأَهْلُهَا يَتَعَذَّبُونَ. I see how they are being sweltered, how being tortured and punished in the hellfire. فَقَالَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ إِنَّ هَذَا الشَّابَ قَدْ نَوَّرَ اللَّهُ قَلْبَهُ بِالْحِكْمَةِ. God has enlightened the heart of this boy. Enlightened the heart of this young man. فَدُمْ عَلَى مَا أَنْتَ عَلَيْهِ. Told this young man, do what you want. You see, brothers and sisters, by your eyes, you will see the day of judgment. If you read certainty, you will be able to see the day of judgment. How people are getting their accounts open, their files open. How the interrogation takes place. How questioning takes place. At that time, we stop from any mistake. Why? Because by your eyes we will see. When you read certainty, you will see how the angels are taking people into custody and asking them. How people who have been massacred, who have been killed, who are victims, come to disclose their grievances in front of God. How they will come to say that this guy and that guy has killed us. This guy has incurred injustice about us. That's you're going to see by your eyes if you reach the level of certainty. Speaking of the day of judgment, the narrators, the ulama say, when everybody is collected on that day, and remember, day of judgment is dark, you cannot see anything. But there is the sirat, there is the bridge that will take you to the heaven. God will ask people one by one to come to check their grievances. The first one that God calls, who? To come to give her grievances. It says, يا أهل المحشر غضوا أبصاركم لتجوز فاطمة الصراط. The first one that will come to say her grievances is Fatima al-Zahra. She's the first one. Now imagine what kind of a grief she has. You think what she's going to be talking about? Will she be talking about her broken ribs and say that people have broken my ribs? No. Would she say that the leadership that has been taken from her husband? No. Would she talk about Imam Hassan and how he was poisoned and say, God, look, people have taken away the life of my son? No. Would she talk about the massacre of her son Imam Hussein and bring his head and say those people have slaughtered him? No. The narrators say that Fatima al-Zahra opens the shroud and take two pieces of arms, two amputated arms of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. She's the first thing does, she brings those two arms, says, Rabbi ihkum baynani wa bayni wa bayna ha'ula al-qawm. Judge between those who have amputated the hands of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. Why? She's returning the favor to who? To his mother, al-Baneen. You see, brothers and sisters, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas lived between two kisses. The first kiss that when he was born. Right at that time, when they brought him to his father Ali ibn Abi Talib grabbed him and kissed both of his hands. Then he started to cry and weep. His mother al-Baneen told him, is there something wrong? She said, no. He said, no, there is nothing wrong with those two hands. But I am weeping for the future, for whatever consequences that will take place on those two arms. From that moment, Ali ibn Abi Talib always reminded Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas of his duty. He told him, you will be the sacrificial of Hussein. You will be the bodyguard of Hussein. At any point, he would tell him, take care of Hussein and Zainab. On the deathbed, when he was about to die, the Imam alayhi salam called Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, was only a teenage, 13, 14 years old. Called him. Then he called Zainab. When Zainab came and Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas was there, he held the hand of Zainab, put it in the hand of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, told him, Abbas, this is my trust. You need to take care of Hussein. Abbas was a shadow to his brother, to Imam Hussein. Look at this, even his birthday. Imam Hussein was born on 3rd of Sha'ban. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas was born on 4th of Sha'ban. He was a shadow to his brother. That was the first kiss. Which was the second kiss? The second kiss, when Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas charged to the battle. He went to bring water to his family, to the children of Abi Abdullah al-Hussein. As he came, filled the skin of water, and he was charging back, going back. The enemies, they hid from the palm trees. They knocked on his hand. They amputated his arms. Again, he was kept running. At that time, he stopped. Why? Because an arrow came and hit his eyes. He didn't know what to do. At that time, as he stopped, someone came and hit him on his head. And an arrow came to the water skin, and the water was spilled. He fell on the ground. At that time, he called upon his brother. Now, when the brother came, Imam Hussein came. The narrator said that before Imam Hussein reached him, he came down from his horse. He grabbed two pieces and started kissing them. As they looked, they saw that it was the arms of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. He came close to Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, sit with him. The blood has taken the entire face and head of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. He could not see who was coming. At that time, when Imam Hussein came and grabbed his head, put it in his lap, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas faintly said, Ya hada, أقسم عليك بمن تعبد إلا أمهلتني لحظات. Wait for me before you slaughter me. Just wait couple minutes. Why? What do you need the minutes for? He said, I am waiting for a brother to say goodbye to him. Imam Hussein told him, I am your brother, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. At that time, when Abbas realized that his head in the lap of his brother, he started to throw away, moving his head. Why you do this one, Abbas? He said, Aba Abdullah, in just a few minutes, your head will be on the land. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. العلي العظيم إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك وأناخت برحلك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. Everyone, السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين ورحمة الله وبركاته. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.